and we are actually in Hispanic Heritage Month right now, so what better time than right now to talk about it? So what is Hispanic Heritage Month? Hispanic Heritage Month is a period from September 15th to October 15th in the United States where we recognize the contributions and influence of Hispanic Americans to the history, culture, and achievements of the United States. Basically, we're celebrating Hispanic Americans and what they've done for the U.S. It's a celebration. Hispanic Heritage Month started off as Hispanic Heritage Week in 1968, and it was created by President Lyndon B. Johnson. It was then expanded to a full month by President Ronald Reagan in 1988. Why September 15th to October 15th and not just September or just October? Good question. September 15th is the Independence Day for a couple of countries in Central America. Those countries are Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, Nicaragua, y Costa Rica. September 16th is Mexico's Independence Day. September 18th is Chile's Independence Day. When it started off as Hispanic Heritage Week, these were the days that it fell on. October 12th is considered Columbus Day in the US, but it is considered Dia de la Raza, or Day of the Race, in Latin America. This means that they're celebrating the diversity of Latin America, so they decided to make the 30-day Hispanic Heritage Month extend into October to include the state. This is why it is September 15th to October 15th. Now, what does Hispanic even mean? What are we celebrating? Well, Hispanic refers to people from Spanish-speaking countries. That seems simple, but there's actually 21 countries that list Spanish as an official language. Let's go through them starting up top. We have Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, or Cuba in English, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Equatorial Guinea, which is a country in Africa, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, or Mexico in Spanish, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Puerto Rico, which is technically a territory, but it's still on there, Spain, Uruguay, and Venezuela. That's 21 countries that have Spanish as an official language. Excelente. So you might have heard the word Latino used for a similar group of people. What does that mean? Latino refers to what part of the world someone is from. It does not describe what language they speak. Latinos are from a region that is called Latin America. On this map, you'll see that the U.S. is located up top. Everything from Mexico down, or Central and South America, is considered Latin America. Let's take a closer look. Again, Mexico up top, it includes Central America and all of South America. All of these countries are considered Latin America. You might have also heard the word Latinx before, or you might have seen it and you're not sure how to pronounce it. Latinx is an inclusive way of referring to Latinos, or people from Latin America. In Spanish, when a word ends in an O, it typically refers to boys or males. If it ends in A, it typically refers to girls or females. Some people like to replace the O ending with an X to be inclusive of everyone, not just males or females. Typically, it is pronounced Latin-X. Spanish speakers may pronounce it Latinx, because the I makes more of an E sound in Spanish. So a Latina is a girl from Latin America, a Latino is a boy from Latin America, and Latinx is anyone from Latin America. They don't have to fit into those categories, just that they're from Latin America. So most of the countries we've been talking about fit into both the Hispanic and Latino categories. It is best, however, to ask someone which category they prefer. Sometimes they have a preference of one term over the other. Let's take a look at a Venn diagram. So on the left we see Latino, which means someone from Latin America. This includes Brazil, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana. Those countries are in Latin America. They're in South America. It does not include Spain. Spain speaks Spanish, but they're over in Europe. It does not include Equatorial Guinea, who speaks Spanish, but is located in Africa. Let's go to the right side now. Hispanic, which means someone who is from a Spanish-speaking country, includes Spain, because they speak Spanish, and it includes Equatorial Guinea, because they speak Spanish. It does not include Brazil, Guyana, Suriname, or French Guiana, because they do not speak Spanish. In the middle, you will find the countries who can technically be called Latino and Hispanic. That means that they are in Latin America and they speak Spanish. Those countries are Argentina, Bolivia, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Cuba, the Dominican Republic, Ecuador, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Mexico, Nicaragua, Panama, Paraguay, Peru, Puerto Rico, Uruguay, and Venezuela. Hopefully that clears things up. What about the word Spanish? When referring to the language, Spanish is the correct term to use. Sometimes you might hear the word Castilian, which refers to the version of Spanish spoken in Spain. For example, I am your Spanish teacher. I speak Spanish. However, I am not Spanish. When referring to a group of people, Spanish only refers to people who are specifically from the country of Spain. Someone can speak Spanish, but not necessarily be Spanish. Now, because Hispanic and Latinx refer to the language someone speaks, and anyone can learn Spanish, or the area of the world that they are from, Latin America, Hispanic and Latinx people are diverse. That means that everyone looks different, which is cause for celebration. You'll see here it says Latino, Latina, that's a way to include the A and the O together, is an ethnicity, not a race, meaning that they're not always going to look the same. You see here that the women in the picture all look different, but they all speak Spanish. That's one of the best parts about the Spanish language, is we're all different, but we come together by speaking the same language. So let's take a look at some famous Hispanics and their contributions to society. We have 8 that we're going to talk about. The first one a lot of you may know is Lin Manuel Miranda. Lin Manuel Miranda is from Puerto Rico. He is known for writing the famous Broadway show Hamilton. He is also active in helping Puerto Rico with their debt and recovering after Hurricane Maria a couple years ago. Next up is Shakira. If you had me last year for Spanish, we spoke about Shakira after the Super Bowl halftime show. She is from Colombia, although she does have some Arabic in her. She is a singer who performed in the 2020 Super Bowl halftime show. In 2018, Shakira was named the highest streamed Latin artist of the decade. She also headlined, as you know, the historic Super Bowl halftime show, which proudly showcased Latinos, Hispanics, and the Spanish language. I loved it. Next up is one of my favorites, Ozuna. Ozuna is Dominican, but he lived and grew up in Puerto Rico, so he's considered both Dominican and Puerto Rican. He is a famous reggaeton singer. He is well known for the song Taki Taki from a few years ago. Ozuna is one of the best-selling artists of all time in any genre, in any language. which is extra impressive considering the fact that he's only been on the scene since 2012. So he's gotten all of those views on YouTube in just 8 years. Good for you, Osuna. Next up is Sonia Sotomayor. She is from Puerto Rico. She is a Supreme Court justice, which means that she works kind of for the government. She is the first Hispanic member of the Supreme Court, which was happening in 2009. So 2009 is when the first Hispanic person got elected to the Supreme Court. She had a hard childhood, and she was discriminated against when she attended Princeton University. So this makes her journey to being a Supreme Court justice even more impressive. You go, Sonia. Next up is Mariano Rivera. He is from a country in Central America called Panama. He is a former pitcher for the New York Yankees. He's now retired. Mariano Rivera is one of the greatest pitchers. He's currently the leader in games saved and games finished in the entire baseball franchise. Next up is Camila Cabello. You might know her from the song Senorita last year, or Havana. She is Cuban. She's a pop singer, and in that song Havana, she talks about how much she loves Cuba. Camila Cabello has also been an activist for many organizations, meaning that she helps support them with her money and with her voice. She is active in organizations that support education for young girls, immigrants, and helping out with Hurricane Maria and COVID relief. Thanks, Camila. Next up is one of my other favorites, J Balvin. You might have also seen him in the Super Bowl halftime show. He always wears a bunch of bright colors, as you can see from the picture. He is from Colombia. He is a singer, rapper, who helped make new reggaeton popular. So he kind of is the same genre as Ozuna. He does collaborate with many artists, though, and he's known for a diverse music and personal style. He is one of the highest selling Latin artists as well. Despite becoming popular in the US, he continues to only sing in Spanish because he realizes how important it is to expose everyone in the world to Spanish music. I love it. Finally, we have Lupita Nyong'o. She is a Mexican-Kenyan actress who starred in Black Panther. So she actually has dual Mexican and Kenyan citizenship, and she speaks 4 languages. So Lupita has been very active in about women's rights and animal rights, in addition to starring in big movies like Star Wars and Black Panther. Hispanic and Latinx people have contributed a lot to our society, as well as the global society. They've worked hard to make a name for themselves, so they have a month dedicated to celebrating their accomplishments. I hope you enjoyed this